Hey, today we're here with Greg Weisman, who is a writer for comics and animation and a bunch of other stuff. And we're going to be talking about his history in both industries and some new stuff that he's got coming up. Thanks for being with us, Greg.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Now, to start off with, you've got a big thing coming up, a crossover coming up with some characters that you have history with. And I don't know your history as far as the other characters go, but you want to tell us about what's coming up?
Sure. We have back on Free Comic Book Day, Demona Zero came out, which was a preview to our Demona comic. And in the back of that, we had a little teaser, 4-page teaser for Gargoyles Meets the Fantastic Four. And in the next month or so, I don't have the date in front of me. I probably should have, but I don't. Marvel is putting out Fantastic Four Meets the Gargoyles, awesome. 30-page issue, and that will be followed by Dynamite putting out Gargoyles Meets the Fantastic Four. And so all three of these stories, the little one on Free Comic Book Day and these two that are coming out in the next 2 months, are all sort of in continuity with each other, not in continuity with the Marvel Universe or the continuity with the Gargoyles Universe, but they're all in continuity with each other. And I think they're just really fun stories that sort of feature something interesting about what these two families have in common.
So how did it come about? Because there's no previous connection between the Gargoyles and Fantastic Four. And I mean, I would think if you were going to do, you personally, if you were going to do any crossover with Gargoyles, it would have been Spider-Man. That's just what I would think.
You read my mind. So they came to me and said, hey, we got permission to do a crossover with Marvel. Marvel's going to do one book and Dynamite's going to do one book. This is my Dynamite editor telling me this. And he's like, so what do you want to cross over with Marvel? And at the time, I was also writing a book, The Spectacular Spider-Man, plural, which featured Peter and Miles teaming up every month.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that book has since ended its run. But at the time, we were going pretty strong. And I'm like, well, why don't we just cross over with Spider-Man? And it came back saying, no, Spider-Man's off limits.
Okay.
They're like, well, who's your second choice? I said, well, I'm good for whatever, but what about X-Men? That whole metaphor for racism is a built-in part of the X-Men comic and a built-in part of the Gargoyles property as well. And they're like, nope, can't do X-Men. And I said, okay. Let me stop guessing. Why don't you just tell me?
Just tell me.
I said, I love Marvel comics. I love all the characters. You'd be hard pressed to find any that I wouldn't want to do. Tell me. And at that time, in the Spider-Man book, I had used Ben and Johnny as guest stars in 2 or 3 issues. And I guess they thought I did a decent enough job writing them so that they gave me a one-shot story in Fantastic Four Fanfare number 4, which just came out, I don't know, like 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago.
I have it in a pile over here.
That story, drawn by Mark Bagley, turned out really great. It's a little flashback story to the Lee Kirby era. And I'm old, so that's what I like. And I guess they thought I wrote that pretty well. So I think there was a combination of, he can handle the Fantastic Four. He's written them and he does a good job with it, or at least a decent enough job with it. Yeah. And we've got this movie coming out. So let's make it Gargoyles Meets the Fantastic Four. And they said that to me. And I said, that's perfect because, from my point of view, Fantastic Four is obviously the first family of the Marvel Universe. And we set out during season 2 on orders from Michael Eisner to create a Gargoyles action universe. We had a bunch of backdoor pilots in season 2, 1995, 96 of the original TV show. And the plan was that Gargoyles would be the first family. That is, the Manhattan clan of Gargoyles would be the first family. The Gargoyles universe, that plan fell away because all my bosses left Disney within 2 years of each other, and suddenly that plan sort of evaporated. There had been a meeting I'd been in somewhere around early 95, late 94, something like that, where Eisner, who at the time was chairman of the Walt Disney Company, had said, I want to buy Marvel Comics. Marvel was in bankruptcy. You could get Marvel for a song.
Right.
I want to buy Marvel Comics. And I was very excited. And then I'm very sad because I watched in the room as all these other executives talked him out of it. Oh. You don't want Marvel Comics. It's in bankruptcy. It's a mess. He's like, it's in bankruptcy. It's cheap. We can get it. It's a mess. You want to do it so you can make a Spider-Man movie. But they've already sold the rights to Spider-Man to 3 different studios, which was true. Yeah. Sony eventually wound up paying to get all the rights so that it could do Spider-Man. But that was years later. Yeah. And you want to do Fantastic Four, and that's been double sold to multiple studios. The whole place is a mess. You don't want Marvel. So they talked them out of it. Of course, 15 years later, Iger would buy Marvel for billions of dollars. But at the time, Eisner could have gotten it for next to nothing. But they said no. So Eisner said, once he had successfully been talked out of doing a Marvel purchase, he said, okay, but Warner Brothers, they have Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman, and that's something we're missing here at Disney. We don't have sort of an action universe. And he turned to me and he said, could we make Gargoyles the sort of beginning of a Disney action universe? And I said, absolutely. And so we had this plan, but then, like I said, Eisner sort of eventually left, but first sort of stepped up stairs, so to speak. That is, he kind of became more of a hands-off executive, whereas when I had known him, he was very much hands-on. And then all my bosses, Bruce Cranston, Gary Kreisel, Jeffrey Katzenberg, Rich Frank, everyone that I reported to on a direct line up to Eisner left, and then Eisner left, and everyone who replaced him, they had no interest in Gargoyles, and so it all just fell away. But what that meant is that, getting back to the matter at hand, is that, you know, I always sort of viewed Gargoyles in Fantastic Four as having this sort of simpatico feeling to them. And so you have these 2 families of heroes who live in skyscrapers in Manhattan. One lives in Midtown at the Baxter Building, and one lives on Central Park South at the Erie Building. And I'm like, this is perfect. Let's do that. And so away we went.
That's great. So you're writing both Marvel and Dynamite? You're writing
all 3 of these stories. Yeah.
So have you worked at all with Ryan North in terms of the Fantastic Four side? Because he's been the keeper of the Fantastic Four for like the last.
Yeah, I'm aware, but no, they. I worked with Michelle, was my editor on the Marvel side. Nate Cosby, my editor on the Dynamite side. I haven't had any direct contact with Ryan. Obviously, I'm trying to be really respectful of what Ryan's doing, except for the mustache on Human Torch.
That was my next question. Are you going to keep the mustache on the Human Torch?
So we did, obviously, in Spectacular Spider-Man, because that's in Marvel continuity, and but of course, you know, it's Peter Parker and Johnny Storm, and they have a long-term relationship. So when they had the mustache, I'm like, there's no way Peter's not going to comment on this mustache. Of course,
he has to.
So I think he refers to it as a blonde caterpillar crawling out on his face or something. But when we did the crossovers, I think everyone's attitude is that they wanted it, and this is probably influenced by the movie as well, but they wanted it to feel like classic Fantastic Four. So no mustache. And I thought, because I saw it really early on a cover where Reed had a beard, as Pedro Pascal had in the mirror in the movie, and I thought, oh, well, they're going to make Reed have a beard, which I, was kind of about.
Right.
I didn't feel strongly, but it just sort of, I'm like, well, if the idea is it to be classic, we're not putting a mustache on Johnny, then why did you put the beard? And then as it turned out, they were like, no beard. And so, and these are not issues I feel hugely passionate about. To me, it's more about characterization than it is about facial hair. But you do sort of feel a little bit like, even if we did wear a beard for a bunch of issues, eventually he'd shave it off. And
eventually.
For however long Ryan has Johnny with that mustache.
It's been a while now.
Eventually it's going away.
we had Ryan on the show about 3 or 4 months ago. Well, actually, no, it's been more than that. It's when he was just starting the run of Fantastic Four. He was on here, so we got to chat with him about his view on Fantastic Four. So, what's your view historically on Fantastic Four? Have you been a fan since you were a kid? Were you, a collector of old Kirby Fantastic Four?
Kirby, me, going forward from there, I probably showing my age a little bit, but I go way back. And
we're not young, so no.
And I have very strong feelings about how they should be characterized, and and if you want to see what I've already done with them again, you can read Fantastic Four Fanfare, or you can read how I do at least 2 of them, Ben and Johnny. And to me, I go back to Kirby and Lee with one exception, which is that the real badass on that team, in my mind, is Sue. Her powers, when you think about them for more than a minute, are incredible, and versatile and massive. And I think when you view her, to be fair to Jack and Stan, not as the young ingenue, but as a mom. Who is still an adventurer, but fundamentally, has that mama bear energy to her, both in terms of her kids, obviously, but in terms of Johnny, and frankly, in terms of Ben and Reed on one level as well.
Sure.
The one thing that where I sort of differ from the first original sort of take on that is that, to me, Sue is the badass on the team.
That makes a lot of sense.
Their roles are really well characterized in the Lee Kirby era, and there's a lot of clarity there. And so that's something I'm just picking up and following. And I think over time, I don't want to speak for them, obviously, but I think even Jack and Stan began to realize that they had undersold Sue a bit on the team. But that's the one area where I'm like, okay, it's 2025, it's not 1961. I think we can let the ladies step forward a little.
A little bit, right?
But that's sort of it. I go for a pretty classic interpretation of the characters. I think there's a sense, particularly in the 90s, and maybe in the early 2000s, or the aughts, that people didn't understand characters like Reed Richards or Scott Summers, not because of the alliteration, but because the models for characters like that are guys like Gary Cooper, Gregory Peck, Jimmy Stewart. You've got thin, tall guys who are the strong, silent type. And they don't get. It's not as obvious. Their heroism is less obvious than the the aggressiveness that comes out of Ben or comes out of Johnny in very different forms, but there's a hey, I'm out here, I'm a hero kind of thing from both of those guys. Ben obviously is the archetype of the monster hero, and Johnny is the young hothead, right? I mean, this is obvious. And in the 60s, everyone understood who Reed Richards was.
Right.
Because, we'd all been through, and we're still getting movies with Jimmy Stewart and Henry Fonda and Gary Cooper and Peck. But I think going into the 90s and later, people didn't understand that archetype anymore. It's sort of fallen out of favor. You saw anti-heroes all the time, monster heroes, hotheads, but you didn't see that sort of strong, silent type, that slim guy. And that was when you start getting all these series where Reed turns into the villain and Scott Cyclops turns into the villain, because they're like, I don't get this guy, so let me just make him evil. And I'm like, then you really don't get this guy. And so that's something that I don't love, is that impulse to sort of make Reed, mean to his fellow team members and this idea that Reed is half a step away from being Dr. Doom. I'm like, no, he's not. Really not. So I think that's part of my interpretation too. Again, Ben and Johnny are frankly easy. They're obvious. Ben's Jack. Johnny is Stan. Reed and Sue are a little tougher, but they're not that tough to get your head around. And again, all it takes is to, watch the Lady Eve and you've got with Barbara Stanwyck and Henry Fonda, and you've got Reed and Sue right there. And there are plenty of movies that sort of can remind you what those archetypes are about, and they're not hard to find, and they're not hard to write once you sort of key into them.
Yeah, you'll like this. I always thought of Hugh Beaumont as far as Reed Richards.
I think Hugh's sort of like Ralph Bellamy. Those are sort of the guys that I wouldn't say that, because I would say that those guys are the guys that Cary Grant made fun of and just did an end around and they wound up not getting the girl. But if you look at Love in the Afternoon with Audrey Hepburn and Gary Cooper, I keep naming comedy, but there are 50,000 westerns with these guys. Peck was a guy who also played a villain. The other three, not so much. Fonda did occasionally. I think Jimmy Stewart did once and didn't like it. I think Gary Cooper did once and didn't like it. But Peck played villains all the time. But most of the time, you can see these guys, and High Noon. Gary Cooper and High Noon. That's Reed Richards, really. But do what he has to do. Or at least that's my interpretation of it. I mean, I don't pretend that I have the final word on any of this stuff. But that's how But
it is an interesting take on a character that's been done for so long. It's bringing him back to his roots, in a sense, of where the idea of that archetypal character came from. The sort of competent man. The guy who can handle just about anything,
and who doesn't have to make a show of it, and look, that's my game. I mean, in television on the TV show The Spectacular Spider-Man, in Young Justice, my job is to sit there and get down to the core of the character, because most of these characters, or a lot of them, have been around. I mean, Superman has been around at this point for over 80 years. And what that means is that across 80 years, you've got a lot of different writers and a lot of different artists and a lot of different editors and a lot of different company mandates about who these characters are. Spider-Man is relatively new compared to Superman, and yet at this point he's been around for 60 years, right?
Yeah.
So
it's been 60. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you have to sort of get down to what's core about this character. And it doesn't mean only stuff from 1963
Sure.
On Spider-Man, or only stuff from 1961 on the FF. It just means that get down to what's core about them. And if that means you have to jettison things that other creators did on them that might have been fun for that time, but don't fit the core of the character,
right?
And you don't do that. And that's the job of the adapter. Sure. And that's true on television, but when you're writing comics, when you're playing in essence the company's playground, I think you have to do the same thing. You have to sort of get down to what's core about. If I'm doing Peter and Miles, what's core about Peter? What's core about Miles? If I'm bringing in Hydro Man for an episode, for an issue, what's core about Hydro Man? Sure. If I'm bringing in Ben and Johnny, what's core about them? If I'm any character that you're bringing in from the sandbox, you can't just pretend it's yours to do whatever you want with. You have to get down to what's core about those characters and work it out. Peter Parker is everyman, That's his archetype. It's always been his archetype.
Yeah. Well, that was the big thing with Spectacular Spider-Man. A lot of people really loved it because you brought him back to that original version of Peter Parker, the teenager who doesn't really know what he's doing with his power.
Yeah.
Yeah. The way I pitched that show was this is the education of Peter Parker. That's how I sold the show.
Right.
I pitched it to Marvel and Sony, and I said, he's 16 years old. He's a junior in high school. We're not going to start with the origin because there was just this big Sam Raimi movie. Everyone knows the origin.
Sure.
We'll get to it eventually. We'll show what happened, but we don't need to start episode 1 with that. We'll say that he got bitten by that spider at the end of his sophomore year of high school. He spent the summer as Spider-Man, obviously with the tragedy of losing Uncle Ben, but he spent the summer as Spider-Man, and he captured a mugger here and a purse snatcher there. And oh my God, he stopped one liquor store holdup, and that was impressive. Those guys had guns and he still stopped them, and so he's feeling pretty, big in his boots right now. But, so he comes into junior year in high school saying, I was this nerd. No one paid any attention to me. Now everything's going to change, except everyone in high school still thinks he's a nerd, and you can't tell them that he's Spider-Man. So, so nothing's changed on one level. So it's about what does he learn in high school? What does he learn? And I don't just mean in classrooms, although that's part of it, but what does he learn in the corridors? What does he learn on the, outside the school? What does he learn? He's got a college internship. What does he learn there? He starts working for the Bugle because that means money. What does he learn there? And of course, what does he learn as Spider-Man, particularly as, supervillains start to become a part of his world. And they said, okay, and who's the girlfriend? I said, oh, that's easy. Peter Parker is madly, passionately, at this age, he is madly, passionately in love with whatever girl happens to be standing in front of him.
That's probably the most honest teenage trait you could give him.
Right. So, when he's staring at Mary Jane, Basic Tiger, you hit the jackpot. But when, he's into Liz Allen, he's into Sally until she opens her mouth. He's into, and ultimately, Gwen sort of sneaks up on him, so to speak. But when Black Cat's around, he is into Black Cat. She scares him a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, he's 16. But she doesn't know that.
Yeah.
And our Black Cat was only 19, so it wasn't too horrible.
Yeah, but, so it wasn't too.
But the idea was that teenage hormones. He's easily swayed. Literally, he'll be talking to Mary Jane about Gwen, and he'll just get distracted looking at Mary Jane while they're talking about Gwen, and she's like, wake up, focus.
Yeah.
So that the idea was to have fun with that. And again, that was something that Pete has to learn, but Pete's an everyman. He's got all the problems that we all have. He's got girl trouble. He's got money trouble. He's got the problem of being pulled in all these directions. And he's got a secret identity that he can't use to explain things. And he's got to worry about his aunt and all sorts of stuff. And that is the archetype for that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's funny. We just ran a poll on it just happenstance that we ran a poll, the best Spider-Man animated series of all time. And personally, I thought Spider-Man's Amazing Friends was going to run away. I really did.
Especially with our crowd.
And especially with where our crowd's a little bit older than Spectacular Spider-Man destroyed
by far.
81% of the vote
was the favorite
for that.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice to hear. I mean, I remember when we were first announced, so this is 2007 or early 2008. We premiered in the fall of 2008. And when we were first announced, I go online to a Spider-Man message board, and I'm lurking. I'm not, making my presence known. And some guy goes, "Why are they making a new Spider-Man series? They never finished the MTV Spider-Man series. They should make more of those." And I'm like, okay, that guy's about 12. Goes like that. And then someone else goes, "Oh, you're crazy. The only decent Spider-Man series was the 90s Spider-Man series." I'm like, okay, that guy's about 22. And then a third guy gets on and says, "Oh no, there was really only one decent Spider-Man series. And I know the title sounds silly, but it was Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. That's the only one that really felt like Spider-Man." And I'm like, okay, that guy's about 32. In 2007, 8.
Right. Yeah.
And then someone else goes, "You're all nuts. There was only one good Spider-Man show. We all know the theme song. It's the Ralph Bakshi 60s Spider-Man show. That's the only decent Spider-Man show." And I'm sitting there going, well, that guy's my age. He's in his 40s. And what that meant to me was that certainly up to that point, and probably still, for a lot of people, it's whatever Spider-Man show was what introduced them to that game.
Exactly. Yeah.
It becomes their favorite for all time. And the reason I think we did one thing very consciously and with some amount of arrogance, I think, on the show, which was, I said from the beginning, I want this show to be to Spider-Man what Batman the Animated Series is to Batman, which is not to say I wanted it to be like Batman the Animated.
Right.
That series, when it came out, certainly for me, and I was, I wasn't a kid. I was a professional working at Disney when that came out at Warner Brothers. But that show was finally, this is Batman. And I said, I want people to look at this and go, yeah, this is Spider-Man. And we had what we called our 5 C's. We wanted it to be classic, coherent, cohesive, contemporary, and iconic. I know iconic begins with an I, but there's a nice
it works. Yeah. Just write the C bigger.
Yeah. And so that was very much our intent, that it would be both classic and iconic, that we had this great character designer, Sean Galloway, and it was like, look, you do your style. I'm not trying to change your style. We want an animatable style. But the thing is that when Doc Ock appears, we want people to see that character and go, that's Doc Ock.
Right.
When Rhino appears, we want them to see that character and go, that's Rhino.
Yeah.
When J. Jonah Jameson appears, we want people to see that character and go, that's Jonah. We don't want there to be question marks of, okay, so who's that supposed to be?
Right. Yeah.
We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We are trying to stylize the entire show, both our backgrounds, our characters, everything. But we want it to feel really classic and iconic, while at the same time making it contemporary. And going back to what I was saying earlier, we have the advantage of hindsight. We know where these stories go. We know that Venom's origin, for example, is kind of a mess because it wasn't planned.
Right.
You know, it was sort of like Eddie Brock. So it's like, with the virtue of hindsight, we know where this character needs to be eventually.
Mm-hmm.
How do we get them there so that it's more coherent and more cohesive? How do we create a world where people aren't just getting superpowers right and left, but that there is a schema, 2 or 3 ways that superpowers are coming about? How do we make that happen? And so we were able to do all that. And so what I like to think is that there's a big group of people for whom, just as with the other 4 shows I mentioned, and some that have come later, probably, like Ultimate for an even younger group, you know.
Yeah.
Friendly Neighborhood that just came out. I'm sure there's a young group for whom that's their number 1 show.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I understand that, but there'd be our group for whom Spectacular was their introduction to Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. But B, if we weren't first place because we weren't their gateway show, that we'd be second place to every other show. You know, in other words, if you're still a diehard 90s Spider-Man guy, more power to you, but what's your second choice? Right. And the answer is usually Spectacular.
Well, in all cool, it was Spectacular first for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't have a young crowd. There's not a young crowd watching this show.
Not.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's... you know, it's gratifying to me that, and of course, lots of people worked on it. My partner, Vic Cook, and all our, Jamie Thomason, our voice director, and of course, Josh Keaton, who played Peter and Spidey, and everybody else, just phenomenal cast and crew on that show. But it's very gratifying to me because we set out very consciously to make as archetypal a Spider-Man show as we could, and we succeeded for at least 26 episodes.
And do you have free range with that show? Were you able to do whatever you want, or everything had to be run by Marvel before?
Both. I mean, everything had to be run by, but I basically got to do almost everything I wanted. And the only exception to that is that there are 2 exceptions. One is I wanted to use Kingpin.
Okay.
And they said, no, Kingpin's part of the Daredevil license. I said, what are you talking about? Kingpin originated in Spider-Man. Like, he may have originated in Spider-Man once, but now he's part of the Daredevil license. Can't use him. And, you know, that forced us to, in essence, give that role to Tombstone.
Okay.
And Tombstone was a fantastic character for us, so it worked out great. And then the other thing I wanted to do, I never wanted to make the show sort of guest star of the week.
Right.
But I did like the idea that, you know, once a season we bring in somebody. And I did plan, because I'm a huge fan of the Peter Parker, Johnny Storm relationship. I planned on bringing in the Human Torch. At Flash's birthday party, I was going to have Torch show up, and they were like, yeah, you can't use Human Torch. So we were relegated to the Spider-Man corner of the Marvel Universe, which is rich and huge. Like, there's no named character in our TV series that doesn't pre-exist in the, you know, whether it's Coach Smith from the Stan and Steve era or whatever. Every named character in that show, you know, we didn't create any original characters on purpose, because we didn't need to. And so, you know, we had fun with it that way, but that was kind of, you know, the freedom that we had. I did have to run everything by Sony and Marvel, and Hasbro got to weigh in as well. And one thing that did change from my original pitch, I had Kraven in season 1, and someone at Marvel, I think it was Craig Kyle, might have been Eric Rollman, I can't remember, but someone at Marvel said to me, you know, why don't you save Kraven for season 2? Because the whole idea is he's coming to hunt Spider-Man because Spider-Man seems like impressive. And he's like, if you put Kraven in season 1, how is even Spider-Man? You know, Spider-Man hadn't done anything yet. And I said, you know, you're right. So we did make that change, but that wasn't like, you can't do that. That was like, hey, does this make sense? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. It doesn't make sense. Let's switch. So we moved Electro up, and we moved Craven back. We moved Electro up a season and Craven back a season.
Mm-hmm.
And because I had the first 2 seasons pretty much planned out from day one. I certainly had the first season planned out, and the only changes were take Craven out, put Electro in, take Kingpin out and put Tombstone in,
Mm-hmm.
and you just can't use John Storm. So, which was a bummer, but not a huge
yeah.
one.
Now, it's funny you mentioned Batman the Animated Series, because Gargoyles is often mentioned in the same breath as that series, as far as like
Came out about the same
memorable.
time. They came out about a year before we did.
Just as far as like being like a really memorable series of that era, because Gargoyles just, I didn't watch Gargoyles when it originally ran, but
Well, what was wrong with you?
I know, right? I was
your age.
I was in college. Yeah. But the people who did watch it at that time still hold on to that as a real favorite show. Like, people love that show. You see it pop up again and again all over the place. I mean, when we go to conventions, there's tons of gargoyle stuff. And then it's just such a hugely beloved show. Do you think you know what it is that people like kind of latched onto about those characters? Or,
I mean, what I know is that those of us who made it, myself, Frank Parr, the late Michael Reeves, the late Gary Sperling, Carrie Bates, Brent Chandler Reeves, Lydia Morano, Jamie Thomason, a phenomenal cast led by Keith David as Goliath.
I love Keith David.
We love
is
fantastic.
that we set out very consciously to make the kind of show that we would want to see.
Yeah.
And I feel strongly that that's the only way to go. That if you try to second guess what is the audience looking for, and you wind up just hacking something out, if you've got no passion for it, how can you expect the audience to have passion for it? So instead, make the show you're passionate about making, the kind of show you want to see, and then cross your fingers that the audience wants to see that kind of thing too. And I think particularly in the 90s, when we did that, very few other people were doing that type of thing. And we weren't serialized in a sort of modern streaming service sense, but our episodes were sequential. It mattered. Watching them in order made it better. You could watch any individual episode, but you'd get more out of it if you had seen what came before, and it made you excited about what came after.
Yeah.
VCRs existed, but they weren't even common. I mean, they were common enough, but it wasn't like every household had a VCR. And so, it was an era when you caught the show or you didn't catch the show for the most part. I had a VCR, but, I was in the business. And a lot of people did, but not a ton. It wasn't, it hadn't sort of yet completely saturated homes across the U.S. So, that was something that we had that Batman didn't have, which is that we had a little element of serialization to the show. Characters grew, changed. We were really allergic to status quo television, that by the end of the episode, things have to go back to the way they were at the beginning. So we did have major changes take place. We'd bring in new characters. We'd even kill off a character here and there. But we changed the situation for our characters pretty regularly. And that kind of feeling, which I think a certain crowd was getting from anime, but wasn't getting from American television.
Right.
Certainly not afternoon cartoons or Saturday morning cartoons.
No.
That was sort of revolutionary for the time. And I do think that a couple of our villains, Demona and Xanatos, were truly revolutionary for those times. And unique in all sorts of ways. And then we had these great monster heroes and tremendous themes. And we didn't talk down to the audience. We just told our stories. You know, I did 2 seasons of that show. We told the best 65 stories that we had across 65 episodes, 13 in season 1, and then on the exact same schedule, 52 in season 2.
Wow, that's massive.
And
what an undertaking.
And, you know, I did that. I produced that show with Frank Parr. And Frank and I are doing the Demona miniseries right now. Issue 3 just came out. Issue 4 comes out next month, and issue 5 comes out the month after that. 5-issue miniseries. Frank doing the art, I'm writing it. And it's great to be working with Frank again on something Gargoyles.
Yeah.
And Frank's art is gorgeous with Robbie Brevard colors that knock your socks off. And I'm really proud of this book. But it all comes out of the work that Frank and I did, you know, 30 years ago. You know, the fact that fans love it doesn't surprise me because I've been in contact with those fans all along. You know, it kind of surprises Disney sometimes. Oh, wait, we can make money on this still?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. It doesn't surprise me. It gratifies me. I mean, I'm happy.
Yeah, sure.
But I'm not particularly surprised because I knew it was something special. And I remember even as it was coming to an end for me when I was leaving Disney in 96, I was thinking, you know, hopefully I'll do a lot of other cool things, but Gargoyles is truly unique. Just the right property at the right time with the right group of people. And I just think conceptually, it's just a cool idea. You know, you've got a bunch of gargoyles who turn to stone during the day and wake up burst out of their stone shells every night, and they look like monsters, but they're the heroes. It's just a cool idea right out of the gate.
Yeah,
and so that helps.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Marvel wouldn't think of an easy match between Gargoyles and X-Men. You know, because
you know, I don't want to make it sound like there are always corporate reasons that are above my pay grade, and so there may be some reason why. I'm sure there was a reason why Spider-Man was off limits. I'm sure there's a reason why X-Men was off limits.
Of course,
and I don't know what that was. I don't know if it was creative or various licenses they have out there that make it contractually difficult. I don't want to. Literally, they didn't tell me. So I don't want to guess at it. All I know is that, that was my first thought was Spider-Man because I was working on Spider-Man and I have a history of Spider-Man. My second thought, because of the metaphor, was X-Men. But when they said Fantastic Four, I'm like, that's great. Let's do that.
Sure.
It's turned out to be so much fun to do these 2 books. And I had 2 great artists. George Cambadeas is doing the Dynamite one. And then the one that comes out soon is Enid Ballum. I met Ballum at San Diego Comic-Con this year for the first time. I just saw his booth, and I was with my daughter. I walked up to him, and I introduced myself, and he got very enthusiastic, and we've been having a great time ever since. And George and I have been doing Gargoyles now for 2 or 3, over 2 years now. So So him and George is a massive Spider-Man fan and a massive Marvels fan. And so for him to be able to do the Fantastic Four is also a big hit.
You also worked on a show, and we'll come back to comics in a minute, but that I used to watch with my kids when they were a bit younger. It was Young Justice. And my older kid is a huge, still to this day, huge fan of Young Justice and Teen Titans because of Young Justice. How is it different sort of dealing with those characters than it is dealing with, say, like Marvel characters or with Gargoyles? Or
well, Gargoyles are your own.
Yeah, right, I know. What I'm saying is mine, but
you can do whatever you want.
But it's not really different dealing with Marvel characters. It's the same process.
Yeah.
You know, again, I just try and get down to what's the core truth about these characters. What is it that has to be part of the piece? Then there are other things that you're like, okay, this I'm jettisoning, and it doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't fit. It may have fit in a certain era or with a certain set of creatives, but it doesn't really fit in the big picture for me. Other things that I might go, well, I don't know that this is core, but this is fun, so let's bring this in. It fits with what we're doing as opposed to something that doesn't fit. And but it's the same process, you know. It's just on a much bigger scale. I mean, you know, Spectacular Spider-Man was, we had one lead, Peter. One lead. We had this huge supporting cast, and it kept getting bigger and bigger with each succeeding episode. But, you know, our marching orders on Young Justice was, we're going to start with 3 characters. Robin, Aqualad, and Kid Flash. Then add Superboy, add Miss Martian, add Artemis, add Satana, add Rocket. But from day one, the marching orders were, you're doing a DC Universe show. This isn't about a corner of the DC Universe. Spectacular Spider-Man is a corner of the Marvel Universe. You are doing the DC Universe, the whole ball of wax.
Oh, I mean, Batman's in the show. You got Red Tornado. You have
you know, we had the entire Justice League, and we made it a big Justice League. I mean, we intentionally sort of said, there's a scene at the end of our pilot, which was a 2-episode pilot, where after all the action's done, the Justice League shows up, and I said I wanted to feel like the Greek god is coming down from Olympus. You've got these kids, and they've just had this major victory, though at some cost. And you want to just feel like when the League descends, that this is like the gods coming down from Olympus. And we had the Light, which was our group of you know, mega arch villains, and we had Darkseid, and you know, we were just going to reach all over the DC universe. We did occasionally create an original character where we had just a really specific need. But for the most part, it was the same thing. I didn't create any original characters if I possibly could get away with not creating original characters. And I did that show with Brandon Vietti, and that was a real partnership on that show as well. And Brandon and I just set out to sort of construct what we called Earth 16. You know, we weren't going to do any multiverse stuff. It's just we were going to sort of, again, that same idea, wanted to be classic, wanted to be coherent, we wanted to be cohesive, we wanted to be iconic. And the only thing that we were doing differently is we wanted it to be contemporary. So the idea was that the Justice League heroes had been around for about a decade, and these young heroes were now their proteges coming up. And then eventually, you know, we'd introduce that the Justice Society had existed in the 40s and all this sort of stuff. But we wanted it to feel like it was really happening in the moment, which at the time was 2010.
Right. Yeah, it was really so well done.
Well, really well,
well done.
It's a great series. Now, as you voiced Snapper Carr, correct?
I did, yeah.
Was that a choice or was that a necessity?
My choice originally was to voice Red Tornado.
Okay.
And my partner, Brandon, was like, I don't know. And I voiced Donald Menken in Spectacular Spider-Man. That was Norman Osborn's sort of assistant.
Right.
And, you know, I never want to voice anything in a show to the detriment of the show. Like, I wasn't asking to voice Batman.
Right. Yeah.
You know. But I thought Red Tornado, he's a robot. He speaks in this sort of monotone kind of thing, and the voice is futzed. And I said, I can do that. And I wanted to do Red Tornado. And he said, I don't know. I don't see it. But he made me audition for Red Tornado. We auditioned out of that huge cast of characters. We only auditioned 8 characters, 6 leads, plus Superman, because whoever played Superboy also had to be able to play Superman with the same voice and yet give it a different feel. And then the 8th character we auditioned, only me, no one else auditioned for that role, was Red Tornado. And when it was done, he was like, I don't see it. I don't see it. I was like so mad. And it wasn't against me doing voices. So, I ended up voicing Lucas Carr, Snapper Carr, and he loved that. And later, I voiced Ultra Humanite.
Right.
And I voiced Lobo's Belt.
Lobo's Belt?
Lobo's Belt. Lobo had a computer built into his belt that would give him basically would alert him if he had a hit, a contract. And would also sort of announce that it was translating. And so every once in a while there was a line for Lobo's Belt, and that was me also. But in high school I did a lot of acting in high school,
Right.
And I actually thought I was good. I was not so much good as like the only guy around.
Right.
I didn't act at my own school. I went over the hill and acted at this all-girls school.
Oh, yeah.
So I was a big man on campus because I was kind of the only man on campus.
Okay.
We have a friend who did that.
Smart. Very smart.
Yeah. And so I got all the lead male roles, and it was terrific. Then I got to college, and I realized, oh, I'm not that good. And I was acting with Andre Brower. He and I went to college together. He was a year ahead of me. And we were in Hamlet together.
Really?
He played Hamlet, but I had 5 roles. So really, who was more important in that? No, I just realized, I'm just not that good, but I'm not horrible. So again, I wouldn't cast myself in a role that's going to hurt the show. I do think I could have handled Red Tornado.
Yeah.
But then we ended up getting Jeff Bennett for Red Tornado, and Jeff is so great. It's kind of hard to argue with Brandon and go, well, I could have done better than Jeff. I couldn't have done better than Jeff. But I was happy doing Lucas. That was fun, a lot of fun. And then again, later, it was great to be able to be Ultra Humanite.
Yeah,
great character.
So I like doing voice work. I've done a little bit other voice work. I did some anime dubs and English dubs for various anime. And I get a kick out of that. It's definitely not what I do for a living, but
Right.
And there aren't a lot of producers that hire me. There is this one guy, Greg Weisman, who hires me for all his shows.
Really?
But,
Do you have to audition for him too?
no, he's pretty easy, but everybody else, it's a little tougher for me to get a role.
So when does the
Gargoyles Fantastic Four.
Gargoyles Fantastic Four start? I'm sorry,
You're old.
I know I'm old, and it's late.
The truth is that I should have prepped and sort of figured out when that
Soon.
first issue comes out, but I didn't. So let me see if I can just pull it up online right now. So I think the first issue comes out in October, the one from Marvel, and then the one from Dynamite comes out in November. I'm trying to find a date because those dates exist already. I just can't.
That's soon enough for people to go and put it on their pull list.
Yeah.
for Wednesday.
Yeah, definitely.
Or
So
that-
October 15th, the Marvel one comes out October 15th, and written by me, drawn by Enid Ballum. And yeah, please, everyone, put it on your pull list.
put it on your pull list,
Pre-order. Pre-orders are the
Already done.
lifeblood of comics these days. The days when it was about who goes to the store and just
Right.
pulls it off the rack when
pre-order
it's
now.
there.
Yeah.
Those days are gone.
Yeah, everything's
not
judged by
that I
pre-order.
knock that. If you're in a
Right.
store and you haven't pre-ordered it, then yeah, please buy it. But
Right.
but really, what decides whether or not a book is a success or not is pre-orders.
Sure.
And after the 2 Gargoyles Fantastic Four issues, and by that time we'll have finished also Gargoyles Demona, which I can't recommend highly enough. But,
Yeah, so everyone should get out there and look for those.
Right. And what's next then? After
Right after that, right after Fantastic Four is Gargoyles meets Darkwing Duck.
Really?
Oh, really? Wow. That's great.
Yeah, so
Gargoyles
from the
meets
sublime
Darkwing
to the
Duck.
ridiculous.
No, but
it's a very
again,
different
another
crossover, but we've got a 4-issue Gargoyles Darkwing miniseries that I've written it all already.
And Darkwing Duck it's a Dynamite property right now, right? Dynamite's putting that out?
Right, Dynamite's putting that out. I mean, they're both Disney properties, but
Right,
it's
but
Dynamite's licensed with Disney. And so yeah, we're doing we got permission from Disney, and I've written this 4-issue miniseries and co-wrote it with Tad Stones, who's the creator of Darkwing Duck. So you have the creator of Gargoyles, the creator of Darkwing Duck working together to do a Gargoyles Darkwing Duck crossover, and it is nutty. I mean, just it's fun. It's very silly, but it's very fun, and I think we've got.
It does make a kind of creative sense. There's something there that does gel really nicely.
They end up gelling very well together. It's wound up being a lot of fun. Seeing Darkwing play off of Goliath is pretty hilarious.
Oh, that's got to be really fun.
Yeah. And when does that come out? That's not.
So the first issue of that comes out in December.
Okay.
And it's a 4-issue miniseries, so December, January, February.
So right off the back of Gargoyles Fantastic Four. Very nice. And hopefully Gargoyles Fantastic Four is successful, and you could get the Gargoyles Spider-Man down the road.
That'd be great. I'm not, again, I don't know why the answer was no in the first place, so I have no idea if that becomes a possibility down the road. But
well, Marvel's crossing over with so many things right now. They're fighting Godzilla. They're fighting the Predators. There's so much going on in the alternate Marvel universes.
I still can't understand how all this licensing works. I try to learn about it.
It's very confusing because I mean, among other things, I'm writing Gargoyles, and Disney won't let me necessarily cross over with other Disney properties. Even not cross over. I mean, refer to other Disney properties.
Yeah.
I mean, we had this tradition in the show that Elisa Mazza, who's the cop who befriended Goliath way back in the show, that every Halloween she would dress up as a Disney princess.
Right.
Back in when we did the show in the 90s, we could do that. And she dressed as Belle. And then when I did Gargoyles comics in 2006-ish, somewhere around there, we had her dress up as Jasmine from Aladdin.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we did a Halloween special last year, they were like, oh, no, you can't do that. You can't have her do a Disney princess. I'm like, why? It's like, it's a different property. I'm like, you own it, though. I mean, it's like, who's going to sue you? And so we ended up having her dress up as Alice in Wonderland.
Okay.
But as the Tenniel Alice, in other words, not like the Disney version of Alice,
like
the original public domain Alice. So I can do public domain stuff, but I can't do Disney stuff on a Disney property. It's nuts to me.
Well, since it's being published by Dynamite, you could have her dress up as Vampirella.
Yeah, I'm guessing they'd have said no to that too, but who knows? I don't think that's quite Elisa's style, but
no, probably not.
She's sort of more of a Disney princess girl than a sexy vampire.
Than Vampirella,
But yeah, so there are all these rules, and they're all beyond. At the end of the day, that's above my pay grade.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have any before we go? Do you have any appearances coming up? Are you going to be at any conventions? Anything you want to promote that you'll be?
I'm going to be September 27th at Los Angeles Comic-Con, and so come find my table. I'm with comic sketch artists, so I'm even though I don't draw at all, I'm the token writer, so I'll be there for sure on the 27th. That I know. It's I think a 3-day con, and I don't know. But Saturday the 27th, I know I'll be there. And otherwise, I don't have anything scheduled. I hope to do more conventions, but I'll be honest, it's been slow for me convention-wise since the pandemic. I used to do at least at least 6 a year, and sometimes more like 9 or 10 or 12. And since then, I only get invited to like a handful every year.
Yeah.
And I'd like to do more. I'd like to ramp back up with that, but it's been slow.
Yeah.
So no New York for you this year then?
I don't rule it out, because if someone decides, I went to San Diego this year, and that was very last minute.
Right.
Mhm.
So if Dynamite decides, oh, we need you in New York, or someone decides, and they'll pay my way, that's great. But I can't afford to pay my way to New York Comic Con. It's too expensive. But,
we know we'll be there.
We're going, and we know, but we live in New York, so it's
it's a boat ride for us. So it's not that bad.
Quick ferry.
Yeah, I live in Los Angeles, so it's
a lot
more of a jaunt.
Yeah.
It's a whole week, not a weekend.
Right.
Not a day like we're doing.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
This was really
Thanks,
great.
guys. I appreciate you having me on.
Anytime. You're welcome back anytime you want to promote anything.
And you know how to reach me now, so anytime you want me.
Perfect. Maybe right before Darkwing Duck.
Yeah, we could talk.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We could talk Darkwing Duck.
Yeah.
That was great.
I actually do know a bit more about Darkwing Duck.
I know you do.
And
I didn't even get to talk about how much I like Captain Atom, but we'll get to that next time.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Well,
I love Captain Atom.
Love my 90s DC Justice League International connections, and Captain Atom is one of the ones I know.
Mm-hmm.
I know you wrote for quite a while with Carrie Bates, so I'm a huge fan of that series.
Yeah.
Maybe next time that's what we'll talk about. But
Okay.
we have talking points already. So thank you for taking the time. We really appreciate it. And hopefully we cross paths at some time. You're in New York or something. We'll be there.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Thanks. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Chad here. We hope you enjoyed that interview with Greg Weisman. It was a lot of fun for us talking about Gargoyles and about his upcoming Gargoyles Fantastic Four crossover, and him revealing to us that he's doing a Gargoyles Darkwing Duck crossover, which is amazing. If there's anyone you'd like to see on the show, please comment. Let us know who you'd like us to interview. If you're a creator watching this and you'd like to be on the show, please email us at collectorsconfessions@gmail.com. And please help the channel, become a member. Membership really helps us do these things. Or give us a one-time gift, or shop in our affiliate shop. You could buy some of the stuff that we talked about in our affiliate shop. Thanks for watching. Love what you collect. Collect what you love. We'll see you next time. Hopefully it's interviewing someone you want us to interview. Comment. Go ahead. Right now. Make a comment.